Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Office 365 and the Enterprise E5 offering. My name is Kevin Vogel. I'm the Vice President of Virtualization and Cloud, and I got Todd Sweetser with me from Microsoft. He's a technology strategist, and he'll be going over a lot of the new features that are coming out with E5, how you can take advantage of them, whether you're an Office 365 user today or if you're going to be signing up in the future, all the new features, all the new benefits that you get from Microsoft by going to the cloud. I'm just going to give you a quick two-slide intro to Champion and MessageOps. Champion Solutions Group, we've been around since 1969, and MessageOps is really our cloud division. These people specialize and do nothing really but cloud. You know, since 1979, we've been selling hardware to clients all over the country, installing it, setting up, helping support it. And now with the cloud, it's a real different part of our business. So we actually started a whole division. As you can see, we've moved almost 2 million people to the Microsoft cloud. We do business with a little over 2,600 companies, all spread across the United States and now even around the world. And because of that, we've won quite a few awards. In fact, you can see that we've been the East Region partner for Microsoft for the last 4 years, both in cloud and now more importantly in Azure. Azure is, as you know, the cloud offering that gives things like platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and about 1,500 applications that you can actually run up in the cloud that are pre-configured and ready to go. And these are just some of our other accolades that we've got from people like Microsoft and CRN and so on, just to let you know who Champion is and why Champion and MessageOps is really the place to go when you're looking at cloud solutions. And with that, I'm going to hand the broadcast over here to Todd. Todd, take it away.
Yep, thank you very much, Kevin, and thank you for inviting me today. My name's Todd Sweetser, just so everybody understands. I'm a partner technology strategist here at Microsoft. I've been at Microsoft for 6 years and have been focused exclusively on our cloud solutions from the very beginning. And I actually have had the privilege of working with Champion and MessageOps probably from the very beginning when they first started touching our cloud solutions, which way back when used to be called Business Productivity Online Suite. And as everybody is probably well aware, because many customers, it sounds like on the call, are already Office 365 customers, we're continuing to evolve, we're continuing to enhance and add capabilities across the board. And that's really kind of the focus of what we're going to be talking about today in terms of the solution E5. Let me see if I can go back one. So from an agenda point of view, I'm going to cover E5, and just so everybody understands, I know E5, just that nomenclature can be confusing. It's a Microsoft product name of an enterprise line item for Office 365. What does that mean? You know, we've got multiple SKUs, multiple choices, multiple bundles that you can purchase of Office 365. And up till this point, we've had there's the enterprise offerings as well as the business offerings, and E5 is obviously the primary topic of today. That is a new enterprise SKU that we'll be talking about. So we'll talk about the value overview, we'll talk about collaboration capabilities within this offering. Also, I'll talk about some other functionality that has been enhanced and or added to the solution in the areas of insights, BI, understanding what people are working on internally and how they can work with each other, people-centric security, being able to give all the users a lot more sense of security in terms of how their data can be accessed, what data is being accessed, who can see what. And a little bit about profiles of the customers that may be looking at some of these solutions, and then of course throughout it we'll talk a little bit about pricing. And as far as the appendix, I think there may be some slides in the deck that you may have access to after the fact. So at a very starting level, this is kind of an overview of, at a very high level, obviously I'm going to get into these in more detail, some of the functionality that has been added. Probably one of the key things I want everybody to note here is there are some capabilities that have been added to the E1 and E3 SKUs. And I think it's and it's important to note that, so there have been a lot of capabilities that are added specifically to E5, but there are some things that are specific to E1 and E3. Notably, the items in red that you'll see on the left-hand side, task management. There's a new inherent task management functionality. It's kind of a slimmed-down version of Project. It's really about planning and managing tasks. It's called Planner within Office 365. And probably one of the other bigger ones that definitely has gotten a lot of attention is the meeting broadcast capabilities. And that's a functionality for the Skype for Business offering. For those that don't know, Skype for Business, and we're talking about Skype for Business Online specifically here, is a solution to enable communication between all your customers, all your internal folks, of course, and potentially external folks, which we'll be talking about some today. The meeting broadcast functionality enables the ability to create meetings and share information, share data, share video with folks at a very high level of the amount of people, namely it's up to 10,000. Historically, with Skype for Business, just having a personal meeting, like any one of us who have Skype for Business Online today to spin up a meeting, and those meetings can have up to 250 attendees, which of course isn't bad, and in the small and medium business space definitely will cover a lot of bases. But if you want to have a more controlled meeting, a meeting where you just want to make sure folks can view and access the content quite easily just via a browser, and they don't have to have Skype in any shape or form, the meeting broadcast functionality, which we'll talk about in more details. But those are two of the items that have been added both to E1 and E3 as well as E5. But it's important to note with E1 and E3, if you already got those, you've got that. Also added to E3 is in the area of data loss prevention, and I'll talk about what that means, and encryption. That's email encryption, end-to-end encryption. Both of those didn't used to necessarily be in E3, but they're now part of E3 as well as E5. And then you'll see there's a lot of other things. Many of these things have been in the solutions from the get-go, but some of the things towards the bottom half focused on analytics, e-discovery, secure attachments, organizational analytics, and then probably some of the bigger items that we'll be talking about in the area of voice and being able to utilize PBX within the cloud, within our environment in concert with PSTN calling, and then also the ability to use PSTN conferencing. And some of those things you may not be familiar with the terms, but as we go through this, we'll get into more details and make sure you understand what these things are.
Hey, Todd, this is Kevin. Are those available for E1 and E3 today? And all they have to do is go to their management console and enable these features?
In terms of the features that are included with E1 and E3, yes.
Okay, so that's what I thought. And I know some of them have to be enabled with PowerShell, correct?
Yeah, the meeting broadcast does have some steps that need to be enabled with PowerShell, and so you guys can assist your customers in getting those things up and running for their environment.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to bring out. Just in case you're having a problem taking advantage of all these features, that's what Champion's here for. As your partner of record, these are the things that we do for you to make sure you're taking full advantage of Office 365. Sorry, Todd, just wanted to bring that up.
No, good call out, good call out. So specifically Skype for Business, I wanted to make sure everybody also understands is while many of these functionalities are part of E5, such as PSTN conferencing and Cloud PBX, they are available as add-ons, and when I say add-ons, it means if you're already an E3 customer or an E1 customer, you can add on some of these new Skype for Business capabilities onto those tenants. It's just a matter of adding it onto your current subscription, so you can enable Cloud PBX and PSTN calling or PSTN conferencing specifically onto those tenants just by using that add-on functionality. So you can see from a pointed item some of the capabilities that are added with these particular functions within the new offering. With Cloud PBX, it's really about call handling. For those that are familiar with a private branch exchange, a PBX, many, if not good amount of customers probably already have PBXs on premises. But you'll potentially be able to replace it with Cloud PBX running within Microsoft's cloud. Many customers we've seen out there today also, they're small and they may not have any type of PBX infrastructure. All of your users may just be using their own cell phones and you don't have any kind of centralized calling infrastructure. And that'd be another huge place where this would be a great place to start, being able to utilize our Cloud PBX in concert with the PSTN calling. And with PSTN calling, by the way, I am going to get into these in a little bit more detail in some future slides, but this is kind of just setting things up. A few things that the Cloud PBX will allow you to do also is be able to use an IP desk phone. So if you've got Polycom and many other vendors out there that are voice over IP desk phones, they can be used in concert with this offering. This also does include that Plus Cal, Skype for Business Plus Cal. So if you are doing hybrid, if you're a larger customer, you've already got Skype for Business on premises. In the future, you'll be able to actually set up a hybrid scenario where some of the users may be on premises, some of the users may be using PSTN calling in the cloud. PSTN conferencing, that's about getting a phone number as part of your bridge, basically a phone number associated with a meeting that you set up in Skype for Business. Again, I'm going to be getting into all of these in a little bit more detail, but I just wanted to kind of lay out the pricing just so you understand that it is available from a standalone add-on functionality. So whereas a lot of the different things that we've talked about at kind of a high level, I'm going to start getting into a little bit more detail in each of these. From a collaboration standpoint, being able to connect with your coworkers, customers, other customers, your partners that you work with. We know how critical that can be, and sometimes that collaboration can be blocked by different silos, by different competing platforms. It could be distance, could be security concerns, it could be just hard to use. The collaboration investments that Microsoft's making is trying to make sure that all your real-time communications, the platform that it's being done on, could it be meetings, could be calls, could be interactive collaboration with different other components outside of even just voice. But all of these come together in Skype for Business, and that's where we talk about broadcasting, we're talking about PSTN conferencing, talking about utilizing the PBX infrastructure within Microsoft's cloud offering. It's important to note all these things come under the umbrella of Office 365, so they come under the same umbrella with the SLA functionality, that service level agreement that everybody's familiar with, the 3 nines. From an organizational, and personal insight point of view, Power BI Pro, this is going to give your users access to data, real-time access to data analytics, visualization of the data. We all know there's just a huge amount of data being created out there in all these cloud repositories. Of course, Microsoft's cloud repositories, be them Azure SQL, be them Azure Storage, be them local on-premises SQL, be it just Excel. All of these things have the ability to collaborate and pull data together, but being able to make the data usable, shareable, consumable by folks that can really benefit from it, that's where Power BI Pro can help with that. The Delve Analytics, that's really focused on finding more about the team, understanding what the team around you, what the organization is made up of, and who's working on what, who's working with who. It gives you, again, a visualization into that we've never seen before. From a security standpoint, Lockbox, that's specifically about accessing data, giving data access. Things get escalated within Microsoft from a support standpoint. You can have a lot more low-level control of who has access to the data to help troubleshoot an issue. ATP, or Advanced Threat Protection. This is about setting up attachments and URLs that are verified to be clean before they're sent out. So it actually will make sure before things are sent that the data is clean, that it's been scanned, that it's safe to send out, and that URL will show appropriately. And then the Equivo Analytics for eDiscovery, that's really about being able to proactively, using machine learning, using essentially technology and capabilities we've learned with Azure machine learning in concert with a solution that Microsoft acquired from a third party called Equivio, that enables analytics to proactively give you information that you may want and be able to have access to alert you when things happen within your environment from an e-discovery standpoint. So let's talk, whoop, jumped ahead a slide here. Let's talk about a little bit more detail about each of these collaborative tools that we're talking about. The Skype meeting broadcast, conferencing, PBX, and so on. Starting out with the Skype meeting broadcast. From a broadcasting point of view, attendees will now be able to join meetings, attend these presentations, up to 10,000 attendees, which obviously is way above and beyond the 250 on a normal Skype meeting. So it's going to give the users near real-time on-demand viewing. The nice thing about it, too, is that they are playback controls. Something you can't do just in a normal Skype meeting is the ability to pause the meeting for a period of time. Say you're watching one of these presentations, and then you've got a phone call that you have to take. You can now actually pause the presentation, a live presentation, basically DVR type of functionality within the meeting. And then when you're off the call, you can hit play and start back where you are, and you can fast forward to wherever you need to be. You're also able to manage and control access to it using the SharePoint video technology. SharePoint has a video portal built into it now. That came out maybe almost a year ago, if not longer. And it's got integration with that. So what does that mean? That gives you the access to get granular control to the ability for folks to view the playback of these. That could be deployed online or in a hybrid technology. The underlying technology behind the Skype meeting broadcast, it actually does utilize our Azure media services. So on the back end, you know that you're taking advantage of the same technology that was utilized for very large-scale events. For example, probably one of the biggest one, the Sochi Olympics. When the Sochi Olympics were broadcast, all the online properties, everything about real-time viewing to recorded viewing, all of that was done through Azure Media Services. So Skype Media Broadcast is actually utilizing that same technology, allowing all your users, all your attendees, to view these presentations, to view these important messages that you want to present to your customers or to your employees or to your partners from any browser, any device going forward. So PSTN conferencing, actually I'm okay right here. So PSTN conferencing, let's talk about that for just a moment. What is it? Basically, it's private switch telephone networking conferencing. It means we're going to be able to give you a telephone number as part of that conference bridge. Now, this slide here is looking at what we've had, always have had, even up to now, and we'll continue to have available as an option. And that is to be able to utilize a third-party audio conferencing provider, basically a third-party vendor that provides that audio bridge, that phone number. It's the Intercall, the BT, the PG1 that we continue to work with, and those have been available since the Business Productivity Online Suite days. So that provides that audio bridge, whereas Microsoft provided the actual web conferencing capabilities to be able to utilize Skype for Business and set up a meeting and set up that the actual sharing of content and collaborating and so on. But the voice bridge, the phone number, if your end users, if you didn't want to use just voice over IP, such as if somebody was remote and maybe weren't on an internet connected but they still wanted to hear the conference, that's where initially up till now you had to use a third party to be able to do that. So going forward, today there's a few different options. Obviously utilizing Skype for Business with just a meeting, such as scheduling a meeting or an impromptu meeting, like you can elevate a meeting from an instant messaging conversation. You would actually utilize a Skype for Business. You'd set up the meeting perhaps in Outlook or Outlook via the web client, and it would actually create a link, a URL, and that user would then be able to actually participate in that meeting over voice over IP. Now, what you're going to be able to do as well is to actually offer the ability to provide that phone number, that bridge with a personal identification number or a PIN associated with it. But that can come now directly from Microsoft. So you will actually be able to utilize PSTN conferencing, and it's very easy to configure, very easy to set up. You would just go into the panel, assign user and or users access to the license for PSTN conferencing, and then assign them. They will get automatically assigned as soon as you give them a license. They will automatically get assigned a phone number and a bridge. Today that phone number will be, area code. You can choose the region, the area of the world where that area code will be. Coming in the future, we will also be offering 800 numbers associated with it. But then each meeting organizer will be assigned that dial-in number and a PIN to work with those Skype meetings. So kind of going forward, you will now have a choice to be able to third party or be able to use just the integrated PSTN conferencing that's part of course, E5, and it can be added to the other enterprise SKUs. I'm building out some slides here, going to the next. So let's talk about Cloud PBX for a moment here. Basically what a Cloud PBX, a private branch exchange, that's really controlling. It's the phone call controlling infrastructure. And historically, many customers today, of course, are probably going to be using an on-premises. If they're using a PBX, they're using an on-premises PBX. Now Microsoft has the ability to offer a cloud-based PBX infrastructure. So it's going to become the central location to manage all the users, the communication that's associated with calling. And it's really a software-based PBX solution that is hosted within our cloud infrastructure. It does have some common PBX functionality today, including voicemail, which is a big one. Includes call forwarding, call transfer, simultaneous ring. For those that have not historically been using Office 365 Skype for Business Online in a enterprise voice functionality, basically your Skype for Business client is now can also act as your telephone. The nice thing about that simultaneous ring, it enables the ability to also ring another device, such as your cell phone. So anytime anybody calls me, any partner calls me on my corporate line, it's actually also ringing my cell number, so I'm always available no matter what. Has the ability to do group calling, which means you can put a group of people onto a single line, and they can actually call in and reach groups of folks, and then the first person answers. And today, as far as the 911 infrastructure, it's manual. Dynamic 911 will be coming later this year. But what manual means is when you set a person up with a phone number, you have to actually set up and put in the infrastructure where they are. So from a 911 standpoint, it'll base it on their home address. So it's going to provide all that common PBX functionality going forward. Where would Cloud PBX be used? Probably one of the biggest places, and then one of the primary places that it would be used is in concert with PSTN calling. And that's where you can actually subscribe to a calling plan from Microsoft within the Office 365 platform. The nice thing about it is you can use existing phone numbers. So if you are currently with a third-party provider, by law, you have the ability to maintain your own phone numbers. There's a phone number porting capability that you would just go through the steps to port your current phone numbers into the Office 365 platform. Or, of course, you also have the option of getting new phone numbers. So connecting within the PSTN environment, Cloud PBX can work in a few different ways. One of them is via an on-premises infrastructure, more of a hybrid scenario, and using something called the Cloud Connectors. And this is going to be a solution that is coming first half of this year from Microsoft. Basically some virtualized servers that will enable the ability to have your on-premises PBX and the Cloud PBX work in concert with each other in a hybrid mode. So some of your users may continue to use an on-premises PBX, and maybe you'll move some of the users who are maybe users that roam, that are the field workers, things like that. They aren't in an office, so they can utilize the Cloud PBX functionality. Then you'll also be able to use that Cloud PBX in concert with PSTN calling, and there's a couple different plans from Microsoft. There is a domestic plan, and then there's an international / domestic plan. Of course, just from a cost standpoint, if you need international calling, you need to call outside of the country, you would just go with the international calling plan. Both those plans come with, just so everybody understands, a flat number of minutes, and with those minutes, and it's basically a pool of minutes for the entire company based on how many users you have. And it's really more for just for protection to make sure there isn't fraudulent calls going on, things like that. Then if you go over the minutes, there will be some small charges associated with it.
Now, Todd, one thing I noticed in all your slides is that you make sure that mobile devices, tablets, things like that are all covered under all these solutions, under all these collaboration solutions. Is that true?
Oh yes, yes, and there is a nice thing too. You'll notice if you haven't seen recently, there is a Skype for Business client for a variety of mobile devices, and that Skype for Business client will work with everything that I'm talking about here today. Meeting you can join meetings, you can participate in meetings, you can take advantage of setting up meetings using PSTN conferencing or participating in PSTN conferencing scheduled meetings, as well as using the calling functionality. So yes, we've got clients for Android, we've got clients for, of course, the iOS devices, but of course Macs, Windows Phone, all the different devices have a client for them.
Thanks.
Oh, no problem. So this is kind of really a high-level overview of what it would look like from a calling solution that would be fully hosted in Office 365. You'll probably notice on the left-hand side, from a PSTN standpoint, our PSTN calling infrastructure, the gateway, all of that would be hosted within Office 365. The PBX, the gateway, the calling functionality would just go out. And then when calls are made, they'd go across the network, hook into whatever number you're dialing into their local PSTN connection and connect with the end user just like any other phone. One little tidbit of information that I even learned as this started to roll out is that Microsoft, just historically, obviously with the acquisition of Skype, has become the single largest telecom provider in the world. So this isn't something new to us. It's just something probably being added to our business offerings. But of course, the technology and all the learnings, everything that's there has been within the Microsoft solution portfolio for some time from a consumer standpoint. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Skype consumer offering that everybody uses all over the world to talk to people all over the world. And that is where a lot of that comes into play, a lot of that background. So talk about moving the stack, communication stack, all the way over to Office 365. I'm just going to build this out here. Of course, using Skype for Business for all meetings. The meetings themselves, just using normal online meetings for just collaboration between coworkers, between customers, if you need to do a small presentation for one customer, even small group presentations up to 250 users. You can use Skype for Business for that. Of course, now being able to use traditional phones using the PSTN conferencing capability, and then the large meeting support utilizing the Skype meeting broadcast for that. And then in the areas of PBX, being able to actually potentially separate or eliminate, I should say, PBX, a multiple PBX system, being able to pull that control up into Office 365, taking advantage of our inherent Cloud PBX functionality, and of course being able to make calls both from a PSTN calling connectivity point of PSTN calling and conferencing capability. So we've talked probably through quite quite a bit of this already, but just to kind of highlight some of the benefits from a voice functionality within Office 365. Obviously, boosting productivity, encouraging collaboration, making it easier for your employees to actually participate in these types of functions, and being able to utilize the calling. Being able, of course, nowadays people are working everywhere, anywhere, utilizing, like you said, Kevin, mobile devices. Everybody has probably 2 or 3, if not more, mobile devices across the board. But probably a big one is reducing the complexity, not just for the end users, but also for IT, and minimizing the support, making a more centralized place to have that type of control and that type of troubleshooting be done. And then, real estate, repurposing real estate. And when we say real estate, I think we're talking about, just the areas where you would need to be running all of these tools, all this infrastructure, and obviously lowering that TCO with basically a one-stop shop, all-in-one conferencing solution.
Todd, we had a question from someone in the audience about whether any of these features will be part of the business premium plan.
Nope, that's a good question. Trust me, I was going to bring that up towards the end, but I can bring it up now for sure. But no, you cannot add any of the voice functionality to the business plans. They can only be added, or part of course, E5, but they can only be added to the E1, E3 enterprise plans. Some of them can also be added to even standalone plans, so if you have like standalone Skype for Business and so on. And I believe there is one of the follow-up links that will be sent to everybody is an overview of Skype for Business and some of the new offerings as far as how the licensing works and what is required. And it kind of goes over a lot of that in more detail. Good question. So some of the other capabilities, definitely wanted to talk about the Power BI Pro. It's really a business analytics service. It's going to enable all your workers, information workers and whatnot, to visualize and analyze data with much more efficiency, a lot faster, and it makes it easier to understand. I think one of the biggest things that many people don't know what to do with today is their data. What to see their data, how they can use their data, the insights they can gain from their data. And nowadays, many customers have lots of data, but they don't want to expose it to everybody. And the way their data is organized and facilitated today, there's a risk if they expose it that maybe they don't have controls over just exposing small parts of it. With the ability with Power BI Pro, you as an administrator can create these dashboards, these UIs that may be specific to certain users, and they're not getting access to the actual data if you don't want them to. They're just getting access to the intelligence behind it, the high-level analytics behind it. And that can help guide certain folks in certain areas of the business make decisions and make their company a lot more agile. So we're seeing a big uptick on producing, these business analytics, this business insight, utilizing data in ways that many customers never really thought was possible, and it may not even really even came up historically, but now is an option for many that was not there before. The Delve organizational analytics. Delve itself it's been out with Office 365 for a little while now, and that Delve is really just this. It's utilizing some of our new APIs that called the Graph API within Office 365 to help build intelligence. And within Delve, if you're in Office 365 and you go into your all your applications in the upper left-hand corner within the browser, and you look at the different applications, if you go to Delve, you may get some insights that you didn't know before, such as, what some of your colleagues, some of the documents your colleagues are working on, and what things may be pertinent to what you're doing day by day. Now, from a security standpoint, it is important to note that users are only going to be able to see what you've given permission for others to see. They're not going to see things that you've obviously locked down. But it is a great way, and I personally learned things. Now, the organizational analytics, which is what's added with the E5 SKU, allows people who are managers, who are leaders, to be able to discover how the organization may be working. see the connections between points, see who's working with who, and it's all done, again, similar to Power BI Pro, through a UI dashboard, through a dashboard that kind of helps give that visual insight into what everybody's doing. So you can search, or surface, different topics that are happening, and maybe, add more insight, add more help to those folks, on your team ahead of time, instead of having to wait to be reactive. Oop, there we go. Make sure to move forward. So in terms of a security standpoint, I want to talk a little bit in more detail about some of these other functions. The lockbox. Lockbox really is basically giving you as a customer complete tight control over who accessed what data for how long across the board. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner kind of this Visio-like diagram of perhaps a request comes in from an engineer who's maybe helping troubleshoot or work on an issue. You as a customer now have the control via this lockbox system to be able to lock that down, making sure that many companies require no interaction with customer content by Microsoft employees. And this is what's giving that very low level. You have to give that approval. You have to control even the time frame, how long anybody would have access to it, what they have access to. And this doesn't come up super often, but if you're in a highly sensitive environment and there's some troubleshooting that needs to be done, it can be hugely helpful. And of course, everything's logged and audited at very low levels. From a threat protection standpoint, what that really means is talks about protecting against unknown malware. We know there's a lot out there, viruses and so on. What it does is it actually will provide a much more secure attachments and URLs. So we talk about attachments, but there's also URLs. Folks are sending URLs to each other left and right. Many times those URLs could be, malicious, could have things that will cause harm. So what the advanced threat protection brings to the table is it'll actually make sure that those links are safe. It'll scan them, and then what gets sent to the user is a link that has been protected, that is safe before the user clicks on it. So it's obviously helping you internally and helping the externally folks that are getting emails. Nice thing too is you can get a lot more in-depth reporting through the tracing capabilities. So anytime any of these URLs are clicked, it's actually going to give that type of information back from a reporting standpoint. You can build reports right from the reporting interface within Office 365 to get details on who's clicked on what, when, and where, and so on. And then the Equivio analytics, talked a little bit about that earlier. Talks something that's really about making sure that data that is in an e-discovery state, it can do a little bit more predictive e-discovery, meaning you kind of set up some maybe rules and scenarios, and it's going to make sure if things bubble up, if certain scenarios come up that look to be of concern, it'll bubble them up and alert. So it's kind of doing predictive analytics, of course, across the board. And this is based on a solution that Microsoft did acquire from a third-party Equivio that had a solution for this, and we plugged it in and made it available as part of the E5 offering.
Todd, we got a question from Rick about Power BI. He wanted to know if the dashboards or the reports can be made available to customers externally, in other words, outside their company's domain.
I believe it can, just like you can share information in SharePoint. You can, and obviously you have that control. You can turn around and share it with an external person. You are going to need to know who they are, and when you set up that sharing, they're probably going to have to authenticate with an ID that Microsoft would be familiar with, which would be a Microsoft ID or a organizational, such as they're another Office 365 customer. But as long as that's in place, you can actually share that information externally.
All right, and we do have one other question. Will the E5 plan be available for nonprofits?
You know what? I have not heard specific nonprofit pricing for E5 at this point, so I guess I would suggest stay tuned. Right now, I know that it's not available, but usually when those things become available, we don't necessarily hear about it proactively. We usually hear about it when it becomes available. We will definitely let Champion know as soon as it's available, and they would let you know.
That'd be great. And for those of you, there's a question box in your interface for this meeting, and that's where I'm getting these questions from. So if you want to ask Todd or myself questions, just type them in there, and I'll try to make sure they get answered. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Todd.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all. So from a customer scenario, and this is really about your scenario, this slide, so it's kind of give you an idea of what parts would make the most sense based on what's going on in your environment. Do you already have an on-premises PBX solution? Definitely start out with the broadcast conferencing solution versus some of our competitive solutions that are out there. And then, of course, utilizing call management if you start getting towards a hybrid scenario. If you're already using a third-party hosted solution from a voice over IP provider, again, 365 could be something that makes more sense from a consolidation from a cost standpoint. Nice thing too, with Skype for Business, being able to start out even just as an instant messaging conversation with somebody. And by the way, when you're having instant messaging conversations, of course, by default, it's everybody internally, but you could potentially have instant messaging conversations with other folks that either use Skype on premises or Skype for Business online. And it can also federate with Skype consumer offerings, so there's different people. But all of these, you can cycle from an IM and turn it into a voice call, maybe do desktop sharing, so there's just some capabilities that wouldn't be quite as smooth when utilizing other third-party solutions. If you don't have any type of PBX infrastructure, you're a new VoIP customer, definitely all across the board what we've been talking about would be a good fit. And then, of course, if you do have a need for analytics, there is a free individual Power BI offering that's included already with Office 365. So you can start playing with it, get an idea of how it works with that, and then start looking at being able to build more consolidated dashboards using Power BI Pro. And then, of course, from a security standpoint, if you are definitely in a regulated industry or if you have folks all over the place, that's where some of the new advanced security capabilities definitely would be a positive option. So kind of along the same lines, this talks about if you have a need, what the solution component within E5 would be. If you're talking about conference calls remotely, you want to reduce costs, that's just using an inherent Skype for Business. But if you want people to participate in meetings via a VoiceBridge, PSTN conferencing, if you need a replacement for a calling solution, either utilizing your existing phone numbers or getting new ones, PSTN calling capabilities, the Skype for Business broadcast for broadcasting meetings to thousands of attendees, be it internal, external. You have the PBX when you want to actually maybe get rid of, or if you do not even have a PBX infrastructure today, and then of course, utilizing E5 as one centralized solution from a management standpoint, and then from a cost standpoint, consolidating all into one pointed item can be hugely helpful, just from a management, from a cost standpoint as well.
And Todd, thank you very much. Now I just get to define. I think this.
Yeah, I just realized that.
Yeah, a wow moment for you guys. I mean, I think we're getting a lot of feature and function for a very small price. And, one thing that Champion and MessageOps tries to do is to add value over and above what Microsoft gives you. And I know you get a lot of value from them, but once you're a partner of MessageOps, we do things like quarterly security assessments of your environment. Make sure, I know there's a lot of now security built into Office 365. We make sure you're taking advantage of that with our assessment. We do network assessments, especially now that you're in the cloud, the network is even more important than it's been. We make sure that it's running optimally and give you any best practices around your network. Obviously, we have this great program on Office 365 and adoption. We have a whole website called Office365adoption.com that will absolutely help you adopt more of the features and get your people more productive through Office 365. And it's part of your subscription when you're with MessageOps and Microsoft. And our customers are taking advantage of this. It's your own personal portal for education, training that is involved in there. My365, which is a utility that we developed to help you take more advantage of Outlook and the features inside Outlook. We have an Exchange Migrator. So when you're moving your business and moving all your emails and your history up into the cloud, we have the migrator that can get you there seamlessly. We also have a Discovery Scout that will find out what you have in your environment and let you know what might be a security risk, what also might be something that now is the time to start eliminating data that you're not looking for. And then, of course, the password synchronization that matches up between Active Directory and your Office 365 environment so that when you change your password on AD, it gets changed in the Microsoft Cloud and you're not having to worry about multiple passwords in your environment. All this comes as just being part of the Microsoft Office 365 and MessageOps team, and we really think it adds a lot of value to the Microsoft offering. This is just, again, just highlighting the prices that Todd went over. If you have an E3, you know that you can do some add-ons, for instance, Cloud PBX or the PSTN conferencing, also the domestic and international calling. If you didn't see that, it's 3,000 minutes on the domestic side. It's 600 minutes on the international side, and like Todd said, that's pooled together. It's really just to make sure that you don't have someone overutilizing the service. And then from an E5 standpoint, really the only add-ons is if you're looking for the PSTN calling. As you can see, it's the same prices. Next checks is, if you're looking for someone to, set up a trial for this or help you now start taking advantage of all the new features and options that are available, even in E1 and E3, please give us a call here, 877-788-1617, and set up an appointment with one of our technicians. You can always visit our MessageOps.com site. We do have a free trials in Office 365 if you haven't signed up already, or even in Azure, especially around Azure Active Directory Premium. And then you could take a free security challenge on our mobility.messageops.com site and see how vulnerable you might be and how we might be able to help you. I'm just going to check to see if there's any more questions on the board here for us. I think we answered them. This presentation, and I know I had a couple people ask, will this be available to you? We have recorded this full webinar, and the presentation will be available to you. We will be sending out links to anyone that signed up just in case they missed it, or if you showed up late, you'll be able to view the whole webinar and get all the slides just in case. With that, Todd, I do want to thank you so much for really being gracious with your time today and really helping us get the message out. Is there anything you want, last words of wisdom you want to leave?
Last words of wisdom. Well, I would definitely want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I definitely, like I said, I've been working with Champion/MessageOps probably for almost my entire career here at Microsoft, and you guys have been nothing but the utmost professionals, and definitely one of our top, if not the top, cloud partner in the country, and I'm proud to say I work with you.
Well, thanks, Todd. We appreciate that, and we don't pay him for that, I promise. He actually does that on his own. But I do want to thank everyone for their time today, and I hope this was worth the 50 minutes that we spent with you. Any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to MessageOps either on our website or call us on the phone. Everyone, thanks, and have a great day.